Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you guys are fine. Today I am really excited to announce that I am launching a course of C++ on this YouTube channel for absolutely free. So let's start now. Okay, first of all, we need to know that what is actually C++. So C++ is actually a programming language. What is a programming language? A programming language is a medium to give instructions to the computer because computer cannot understand our language like English. Computer can understand only binary language, that is zeros and ones. But the problem is that we cannot actually understand the zeros and ones, so we need a language to communicate with the computer. Here here is a place where programming languages come. C++ is one of the numerous programming languages that are used to give instructions to the computer. So there need to be someone who translates C++ into binary language. Here the compiler comes. Compiler converts the C++ into the binary language that is actually understood by the computer. So we need to start writing our first C++ program. But before that, I need to give you a complete setup of that. First of all, you need an IDE. An IDE is a platform where you write a code, any code. So for C++, the IDE that I would recommend would be Visual Studio Code or Dev C++. Both of them are great and they both work very well. Then you need a compiler for compilation of that code and translation into binary language. So for compiler, you can use MingW. MingW compiler. This IDE and compiler, both of these links will be mentioned in the description box, so you can directly get them from there without wasting time on Google just searching for them. So when you are set up, you have set up your IDE and your compiler is also set up. Then we can start writing our first program. So here we are. So here we go. So first of all, before doing anything, first of all we have to include a library in our C++ program, and that is a must. Use a hashtag, write include, then the signs, and the library that we are going to include is called iostream. This is very important. I will tell you why. Then you will use a namespace using namespace studio std and a semicolon. So these two lines are very important and will be wrote in the start of every each C++ program. The purpose of these two lines is to ensure that the user can interact with the program. Like user can put input in the program and the program can actually give some output. So these two lines are a must. Then we have to declare a main function. What is a function? We will discuss that later, but for now, a function is something that has something to do. So a C++ program must have a main function. Without a main function, your program cannot run. So I am declaring a main function here and the brackets. These brackets are used to give parameters to the function, but for now we are just declaring a function without any parameter. Then these curly brackets denote the code blocks. So now when declaring a function, it is a must in C++ to give some data type to it. So what are data types? We will discuss it later. So for now I am giving it a data type of int. It is basically integer. So here we have included a library, we have used the namespace, we have declared the main function with the data type int. Now let's output something. The keyword that we'll use to output something is called cout in C++. Some languages use console.log like in JavaScript. In Python, I guess we'll use print, and there are different keywords for printing words, printing statements, printing output in different languages. So for C++, we use cout. Cout and then these signs and then quotation marks. Let's print hello world and then a semicolon. Semicolon is a must at the end of each code statement. If you miss even one semicolon, your program will not run and you will get an error. So this is our first program. This should print hello world on the console. Let's run it. Oh, we got an error. Okay, so spelling of file stream are wrong. You have to avoid such mistakes. These mistakes will be very difficult to find if your program is very big. Okay, now let's run this program. Here we go, you can see the output is printed on the console and it says hello world and program finished successfully. So now let's try something else. Now we will learn about variables and their data types. So what is basically a variable? A variable is something in which we store information. Now the information can be a word, it can be a letter, it can be numbers, it can be anything that you want to store in your program that is actually stored in the variables. And those variables have some data type. For example, if you are storing a number, data type will be integer. If you are storing a word or a statement, the data type will be string. If you are storing a character, the data type will be character. If you are storing a boolean, then the data type will be bool. So data types are a must. In other languages, if you just declare the variable and give some information to it, the language is so efficient that it can automatically see what the data type is. Either it is a number, it is a character, it is a word. But C++ is actually more specific. It needs to be specified which information, what kind of information are you storing in it. So for example, if I want to store a number in a variable x, so I have to declare a data type int, then variable name x, then equal to, so I can assign some value to it, and the value I have decided is 5, and then a semicolon. So this is the basic syntax of declaring a variable of data type int and a number is stored in it. Now let's store a word. A word is stored in a variable of data type string. Let's name it as name. Then we have to use equal. And for storing strings, we have to use double quotes. Just give any value to it, any information to it, and always put a semicolon at the end of the statement. Now let's store a character. A character can be any letter or any special character also. And note that they are stored by single quotes. Like if I have to store a character, I will use single quotes and then just a character and then a semicolon. Now also let's store a bool variable. Bool are basically used for true false. They can only store two values, true or false. Okay, either true or false. I am giving value of true to it for now. Okay, so for now I have done nothing but declared some variables, give them their specified data types, and store some information in it. Now note that the number that can be stored in int are only natural number or whole numbers. You cannot store any fraction or any decimal in int type variable. So if you want to store decimals or very large numbers or very short numbers, there are some special data types for numbers. For example, float. Float can store decimal numbers. Long can store also decimal numbers, but very long numbers also. But if the number is super long, you can also use long double. And if your number is short and you don't need that much space, you can also use short. These data types are used when you have to declare, when you have to store actually a very large number, a very small number, or a decimal number. So int cannot then work, then you have to use these data types. Okay, we have learned about variables, we have learned about data types. Now let's learn how to take input from the user. I want the user to input some number into the program. So first of all, I will see out and tell him what he is supposed to do. So I will tell him enter a number and then a semicolon. That is actually a must at each end of the statement. Okay, then I will declare a variable, say it is x, and will not give any value to it because I want the value to be come from the user. Now the keyword that is used to take input from the user is called scene, and these signs and the value will be stored into x. So the number that is put by the user will be stored in the x. So I want to know what is actually x. So I will see out and check what is x. So the program will give me the value that was stored by the user. Okay, let's run this program. Okay, here it asks for a number from me. So let's enter 10 and when I will enter, it will give me 10. So here you can see that the program finished and the number that the user entered is actually now visible to me. This is how you use cout and cin to actually take input from the user and deliver some output. Now we will use if else statements. Sometimes you need to select a specific part of the program, or you need to apply a condition that if this condition is satisfied, then run this part of the program, otherwise run any other part of the program. This is useful in different applications. So for now, let's print a if else statement. Okay, the syntax is to be observed very carefully. Okay, if then brackets will be containing the condition. Suppose if x is less than 5, then what? Then give me the output cout what should be output that x is less than 5. But if it is not the case, then what? Then you will use else what? Else give me the output that x is not less than 5. Okay, so here you put a colon, semicolon, and then close the code block. So where is x? You have to declare x. So let me declare. Let's take x from the user actually. So again cout enter a number. User will enter a number and that will be stored in the variable x whose data type is int. We will use scene for this purpose. Then the condition will be checked. If the number that is entered by the user is actually less than 5, then the statement that will be printed will be x is less than 5 and the rest of the program will be ignored. But if the condition is not satisfied, x is not less than 5, then the upper code block is ignored and the second one is run, that is actually x is not less than 5. This is how we use if else statements to if we want to apply some conditions to our program. So now let's run this. Okay, an error. Okay, see here I have not used a semicolon. So if you will not use a semicolon, it can be very difficult to you to find the error at the end of the at the end of the program and you are going to run the code. So it is very important to put semicolons. Now everything looks fine. Let's run this. Okay, he is asking me to enter a number. I will enter like 8. See, x is not less than 5. 8 is actually not less than 5. So our program is working. If I would have entered any number less than 5, then the statement that would be written would be something else. This is how you use if else statements. Now a very important part of C++ is actually loops. Loops are used when you have to run a code again and again and again and again. For example, if I ask you to enter 10 numbers, like enter first 10 numbers, you will actually do it very easily. But what if I ask you to enter first 1000 numbers? Then it would be very difficult for you to print first 1000 numbers. So here come the loops. There are three kind of loops in C++: for loop, while loop, do while loop. I will be using for loop here. So for, then I will put brackets, then I have to declare a counter variable which will count how many times the loop is running. Int I is equal to 0 initialized by 1 0. Then I have to apply the condition till when the program should run. Since I have to print first 100 numbers, so I should be less than 100. And then the number should be incremented after each execution. This is because if the number is always 0, then this condition will always be true and the program will run for infinite time. So if you want to close the program after 100 times, you have to introduce a increment here, which will increase the value of I by 1 every time. Like if it is 0 for the first time, and when the loop will finish and the loop will repeat again, the value of I would become 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6 until the condition that has been specified, in this case that is less than 100. So this is the condition. Till the time this condition is true, what would happen, that is decided by the code that is written in it. So see out, give me the output. What? Give me output I. This is because actually I is being repeated. I becomes 0, I becomes 1, I becomes 2, I becomes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until 100. So why shouldn't I print just I to give me the numbers? And then here I can use end line if I want a list of numbers. End line will shift the output to the next line each time the loop is repeated. For example, if I do not use end line, then it will be printed like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a straight line. That would be inconvenient for us. But if we want the list of numbers like 1, then in the next line 2, then 3, then we will use end line. This will shift the output to the next line each time the loop is repeated. So here a semicolon and let's run this. Here you can see a list of numbers is printed from 0 to 100. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 99. Why 99? Because the condition was less than 100. 99 is less than 100. 100 is not less than 100. So the condition is less than 100. So the numbers will be printed till 99. You can change the condition. You can enlarge if you want to. If you want the counting to start from 1, just make this I 1 that we made 0, and if you want 0 also printed, then you can use less than or equal to 100. It is completely up to you where you want to start the loop, how many times you want the loop to be repeated, and even how much increment you want. For example, I was using plus 1, so the number was being added plus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can also do it plus 2, like 0 will become 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. I can also make it 3, I can make it 4, I can make it 5. That's completely up to me to that's that actually depends on what kind of work am I doing. So here loops also come to end. We'll discuss later things in later videos. Then